Hello, everyone. So I want to talk about IMA policies today. I know it's everybody's favorite topic. So IMA policies, what are they? IMA policies are very important because it's AWS way of defining and controlling permissions to your AWS resources. So usually you create an IMA policy and you sign it. You sign that basically policy and its permissions to the IMA user, and that's how an IMA user has access to your AWS resources. But with AWS Lambda, you can actually define an IMC policy thing associated with IMA role, and then you can associate that role with a Lambda function, and that's how your Lambda functions has access to all the AWS resources. So let's cover both of because there's two types of IMA policies, so we'll cover both types of IMA policies real quickly. So there's managed IMA policies and there's custom IMA policies. So managed IMA policies are really cool because they're managed by AWS. So what this means is AWS will kind of manage adding new permissions to the policies whenever like a service changes. So this is actually pretty handy because AWS is pretty relentless about adding new features to its services. So let's say that they come up with a new feature, well, they're going to add that permission to that new API call to that managed policy for you, and then you don't have to manage it. They kind of shoulder the burden there. So they're pretty cool and they're pretty useful to use, and I prefer using them when possible. If you need more customization, then there are custom IMA policies. So custom IMA policies are basically policies that you have more control of, and you could actually define very fine-grained access to what resources you want to allow that role or that user to have access to. Okay, within Jets, there are a couple ways to define IAM policies as well as managed policies. We'll cover the regular custom policies first. So the custom policies, you could actually define an IMA policy specific to the very function. So here is an IMA policy that's going to add access to S3 and SNS to the show function right here. So that's exactly what this is doing. And you just define the IMA policy notation right above that show method there. You could also define IMA policies class-wide. So you just append class underscore at the beginning of IMA policy there, and you define a policy definition here. And that policy definition is going to now apply to all the Lambda functions in this post controller, unless it's overridden by IMA policy at the function specific level, because the function specific level IMA policy is at the highest level of precedence there. Okay. All right. So what else can you do? You can also define IMA policies at the application level. So the application wide level is basically just, this is like the default basically, and this is the lowest level of precedence. So let's say you don't have an IMA policy at class level, you don't have IMA policy at the function level, then it's going to take the application level one. And the application level, you don't have to define it, but here is an example of kind of defining and overriding the default behavior. The default behavior actually comes with a pretty restrictive IMA policy, which is what you want. Let me actually show you one of the policy of a running Jets application right now. So here's the default application policy or application role with the policy here in it. So if you can look at that, let's expand up so we can see it. And you can see that basically it's whitelisting access to CloudWatch logs. So your Lambda functions can write to CloudWatch logs there, but it scopes it to like the exact kind of project right there. So it's pretty restrictive in that sense right there. Okay, let's see what else. About IMA policies here. You can see that we're kind of Jets provides kind of like convenience expansion of your policy. So you define all we're defining here is pretty simple. You just define a string saying I want access to S3 for that function. But here you're defining actually hash notation. So there's different ways to define IMA policies with Jets. So we'll cover all three of the ways here. All three of the ways, we'll go right here. First is the simplest form is the simple statement, and that's just basically a string. That string then gets expanded to this policy document that looks like this. See? All right, and then also, well, with a string, you can also, if you want to, you can use colon dot star to allow all actions, or you can just drop the colon dot stars, or you can actually specify specific actions, API calls that you want to allow access to right there. You can also use the second form of the notation, which is a hash structure. So here's a hash right here, and in this hash is saying allow actions kinesis, effect allow, and then here are all the, and then kind of a restrictive kind of resource kind of filter there. And then if you need even more control, then there's you could define the full policy hash. So here you can specify the version, the statement, and all the things that we've been specifying below here, action, effect, resource. So it affords you kind of a lot of different flexibility control there and how you want to define that. All right, I want to cover one thing here that kind of I glossed over here. IMA policy inheritance. So I found that this was a pretty common when you want to have IMA policies added, you actually don't want the baseline modified most of the time. This is more common, I feel. So when you define IMA policy here for the show action here, that doesn't mean it's gonna actually remove the default policy. It's gonna actually add to it. The IMA policies are additive here. I thought this prevents you from actually having code duplication. Because let's say if you had IMA policy S3 here, and then you won't have access anymore to the logs. Or let's say if it wasn't inheriting the lowest level of precedence and combining the IMA policies together for you, that's what Jets is doing, then you actually have to do comma logs here too, and then all your basically your policies become very duplicative, like a lot of duplicated code there. So that I wanted to point out that IMA policies are inherited from the lowest level of precedence and all the way up there. Okay, now let's look at how managed policies are defined with Jets. So managed policies is very similar. You could define it in 3 levels of precedence at the function level, class-wide level, and application-wide level. And here's what the notation looks like. Manage at the function level, you just go manage IMA policy, then you provide a string. That string actually gets expanded to something like this, the full ARN, right? So you could just basically write the shorter form. So that's kind of nice and more convenient. Class level looks exactly like the IMA policies. It's just you have manage IMA policy here, and once again you can provide strings there, and those strings kind of get expanded to the full ARN. Then you can also define at the application-wide manage IMA policy level there. They also are additive, or they kind of inherit from the lower level of precedence, and they combine them together because again that's usually I found the more common case. Okay, so that's how you define IMA policies, and that's how they kind of work. Now let's actually just go ahead and go through a live demo and add some IMA policies. We'll just grab the ones from the examples here. We'll start with the custom IMA policies and we'll add it to our project. So here's our project right here. I'm just gonna add it to the show action. So this IMA policy, so I'm adding the S3 access and SNS access, additive, remember, to the default CloudWatch policy that's shipped by default with Jets to the show method. Okay, and that's the first one I've added, and this I'm gonna add 2, and this one, go ahead and grab this guy. And this is the class level one. So let's put it up here. This can add DynaDB access and Kinesis access to all the Lambda functions in this class, except for the show one, because that show one has a different IMA policy there. Okay, and then we're going to override the application-wide one also. So we'll just tack it on here, boop, to the bottom there. Okay, and now we'll go look at the manage IMA policies. We'll grab this guy. Also added to the show action, manage IMA policy, EC2 read-only access. I'm adding EC2 read-only access. I'm allowing this show function, Lambda function, to access EC2, but only read-only. Okay, and then let's grab this policy too, and just kind of paste this up here. So this is going to add a IMA read-only access and config rules execution rule here. There. And then lastly, let's go ahead and grab this line manage policy. So this will cover every single variation that we need here. So this is a manage IMA policy that's going to allow CloudWatch access and IMA read-only access here as a managed policy. So let's go ahead and kick off the deploy here. So we can go ahead that deploy. So while this is deploying, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so you guys don't have to wait for this. All right, cheers. All right, guys, so that deploy completed. So let's take a look at all the IMA rule policies now on the console so we can see how the changes kind of have been updated. Okay, so I'm just refresh IMA console here. I'm going to go back to, actually, let's go to roles. Let's search for demo dev because that's our app. You can see there's application row. I didn't talk about this preheat job row a little bit. That's also another internal row within Jets, and that just allows the preheat job to call other Lambda functions and kind of pre-warm your application. But that was not newly created. This has been modified, and these two were newly created. Here's the show one, the controller wider one, and then the application default one. So we're going to look at the application default one, starting with that one. Okay, opening up that, you can see, like if I click show more, here's the inline policy, and you can see that that's no longer restrictive to just that specific application because we changed it. And I'll show you this side by side, so then we can kind of understand it. So here's the application one on the very bottom here. And just resize the windows slightly. Close that up. Okay, so you can see this is what I added there, and here is the change. You can see the change has been made. Okay, and then you can also see the two managed roles, the cloud trail one and the IMA read-only access. Here are the managed roles, the managed policies have been added there. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the other roles now. Let's look at, let's see if I can expand this a little bit. Maybe not. Okay, here's the controller role. So here's the controller wide one. So I'm going to kill this one and open this one up. All right, here's the control wide one right here. So this one, we added IMA class policy, DynamoDB, and Kinesis. So let's take a look at that in the inline policy that was created here. So here's DynamoDB and here's Kinesis, exactly what we had in the code. Okay, and then we also have the IMA policy for IMA read-only and config rules. So IMA read-only and config rules right here. And this CloudTrail read-only access, remember, that comes from the parent one. See the parent one, it gets inherited there. Okay, because that's usually, you want a baseline usually, and then you want to add only a slight modification to it. And remember, if it didn't inherit it, then we would actually have to copy this over here, and that gets pretty confusing quickly. Okay, so let's look at the next and last row. Show. Yes, open up show, and we'll kill this boy right there. All right, okay, and then here's the show one. So here's the IMA policy, S3. Let's look at the inline one again. We'll go down here, open this up. S3 star and SNS star right here. So again, that got expanded to this. We also added a managed policy to EC2 read-only right there. So here's the EC2 read-only right here. And here are also the other ones from the class and also from the application-wide one. So that's kind of what we usually want, the behavior we usually want there. So that, I think, that covers IMA policies. They're pretty important because, again, this is how you control and define access to your AWS resources. So it's pretty important to understand this from a security perspective. And so hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you like videos like this, be sure to like it and give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends to encourage more content like this. And subscribe if you want to watch more future videos. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Cheers.